In this video, we will demonstrate how to write inline assembly code in a C++ source file. Inline assembly code that can be inserted directly into a high-level language program. So in this example, since we use Microsoft Visual Studio C++ on Windows system, so we will use that for the example. So the compilers like Visual Studio C++, they have compiler-specific directive that can identify inline assembly code. So why we do the inline assembly code? Because that's more efficient. You don't need to implement a procedure. You don't need to call or return instruction. You just simply to use the assembly instruction and put as the inline code in C++ source file. They are very simple to code because you have no external name. You don't need to identify in your C++ language. Just need to have the specific directives before that. So then you don't need to worry about the memory model or the naming convention. The only thing not so convenient is one thing is not so convenient is your inline assembly code in your C++ source file. They are not portable because they are operating system dependent. So that's why here, just like C++, when you write your file, you may be able to compile your C++ source file from Windows system, then move to the Mac system to compile. Then they can work. However, if you have an inline assembly code in your source file, they are not portable because if using that ASM code to work with Windows system, they will not be able to work on your Mac system. Here is the example how we use the Visual Studio on Windows system. So here, before you write any ASM instruction, you just need to add underscore as ASM. You can be only one simple statement, like one simple instruction. Or you can have using the bracket on your curly braces to include multiple statements. Just before that, you have your underscore ASM directive. The C++ compiler will understand that. So for example, your statement can be just a move instruction or add instruction. So here's the example. Sometimes when we have our instruction, we want to write the comments. That's how we do it in ASM file. But here in C++, since we can use the double backslash or like this, so then they also accept all these three different ways. They are all understandable in the C++ code. But here we will talk about the later two are preferable. The reason is just we write this inline assembly code in C++ source file. So like before here, we say you can have multiple statements, but what kind of statement ASM code they will understand in C++? So you can do the following. You can use any instruction from the Intel instruction set. So we already introduced move, add, sub. So they are all workable. In the future section, in the future module, we also will talk about multiplication or division. They are all workable. And also you can use your register name as the operand. So all the general registers like EAX, ECX, EDX, ESI, they are all can be used. So your reference function parameter by name, you can reference your code label. So like you can write a loop. So you have L1, you loop back to L1. The code labels and the variables, they are declared outside the ASM block. They can refer to that. You can use the numeric literal. You can use the PTR operator. So the PTR operator, they will give you the memory address. So that's why you can use that as well. So you can use the length, type, and the size directive. That's what you can do. But also something you cannot do in the inline ASM file. That's here we have. As we mentioned, that's an inline ASM code. So you cannot use the data definition directive. So you cannot use the operator other than PTR. So you cannot use the offset. So the micro directive, you cannot use that as well. As we mentioned earlier, you can use the regist as operand. So those regist is basically the all-purpose, general-purpose regist, like EAX, EBX, ECS. You can use that as operand. Or sometimes remember you can use the ESI, EDI, or EBP as the memory reference. But just be careful, make sure you will restore your ESI, EDI, and EBP, just in case after your ASM segment, you need to continue to use that in other assembly code. So in this section, we will use the example encode CPP file to demonstrate how to write ASM inline code. So remember, you already did that in your assignment 9, right? Assignment 9, we talk about you can have a text sentence. So then you can use the inclusive OR to encode it. Then you can use inclusive OR again to decode it. So let's do a little fancy. So we are not only just have read from the user input for the one sentence. How about we just like we do in C++, we can read a text file. So you have IF string. So then we're using inclusive OR to encrypt that. So that's why your output will write into another text file. So that will be, you create another OF string object. So in this example, we will show you when we do using the inclusive OR, that's just write a ASM block. So that's each character you read from your text file with inclusive OR for a specific number. So then we can use this from the user input. So you run this code, the beginning we just ask the user can just enter a number between 0 to 255. We use this one as the encrypted code. So then we read character by character from our input text file. So then we inclusive OR for each letter with the encrypted code. So here we use the ASM code block to work on the inclusive OR operator. So then your output will be in another text file that will be encrypted. So I want you to make sure you will download the zip project. So that's a zip file from the canvas. After you unzip this file, you will see a whole project. So make sure you can run the project without any problem. Okay, so you can see here it's example. After you download the encode_inline zip file, make sure you unzip that. So then you will see here you have the project folder. You can double click on that. Then you have your whole project. So make sure you click on the project.sln file. That's a Visual Studio project solution file. Then you can run the program. So later I will show you the example in the encoded.cpp file. So here you will see that's the project we opened on the Visual Studio. So in this project we have the encode.cpp file. That's the only source file we have. In the second half of this CPP file, we will show you how to have the ASM inline code in there to do the inclusive OR operator. Let's see the content of the encode.cpp file. So you will see in the main function, we will run the program and we take two arguments. The first argument will be the file name. So that's the input text file we want to encode it. So the output file will be the output file name that will be encoded. So the encode is the execution file. So we quickly see here, that's just the regular C++ code. So after you have your input file and output file name, so we create the ifstring object and ofstring object. So we tell the user we are reading the input file and we stop creating the output file. So like earlier we say, how we will create the output file. So actually we just read character by character from our input file. So we will read our input file. We put the buffer, that's the string array. So then from here, we save all the data in the buffer from the input file. So then you will see here the count, just total how many characters in our input file. So when we read each letter we save in the buffer, so remember we want to inclusive OR this letter with the encrypted code get input from the user. So you can see when you run the program, the first beginning we will ask the user, can you give us encryption code? That will be a number between 0 to 255. Yeah, user can type any number between that. So then when we read character by character in the input file, so we're just using the buffer to get the location. We get the location, the memory location for the beginning of the input file we save in the ESI. Since we have count number of characters, so that will be our loop. We save the ECX. So then we have our encrypted code get from the user we save in AL. So that's why in the loop, we will always inclusive the EXI where the point to the memory location of the letter in the input file with AL. So after we're done, we increment by 1. So then again, we loop back. So that's why we just continue to inclusive OR each letter in the input file with AL. Then we update the content of the ESI. So then after we're done, the whole buffer already being changed. So then we write the whole buffer data into our output file according to the length of the buffer. So you can either run this program using the command line, or you can run from the Visual Studio. If you run from the Visual Studio, the argument you want to specify will be under your property page. So go to your project name, right click, then you will see the property page. So when you open that, go to the debugging. So you can specify your command argument. Remember, the first argument will be the input text file. The second argument will be your encrypted the output file. So after you're done, you can run from the Visual Studio. Okay, so that's I run from the Visual Studio. So we specify the encryption code. So then they read from the input file, then creating the encoded TXT file. So here I show you the example. You see we already have the input file. So then after we run the program, your encoded.txt file, they will look like that. Because they being inclusive OR for each letter, so they will be the character user cannot be read. So all those files, they are under your project folder. So that's our example about how to write inline ASM code. Please make sure you can run the project correctly. That will be used for your lab exercise 10.